Um, so I'm going to actually preface my story before I actually read it to you guys by saying that I am a trans woman. I'm a non-conforming woman, meaning that I don't identify with the label necessarily of womanhood, but I will claim it no less because that is typically how people see me. You may even see me as, a man trying to be a woman. That's not how I would encompass my story, but I mean, it is what it is. Um, but I also want to say that even though this is my story and it is specific to me, it's also the story of so many trans women who I've been blessed to share space with and be inspired by. Um, and so those are the bodies that I'm up here for today. And I ask that, you pray offer reverence to the lives that have been lost. And so it's a blessing that I get to be up here. Um, so that said, let's begin. My conflict with identity is that wherever I go, I know I should be silent about it. The upside is that I learned to call certainty into question really, really small, and that I recognized that I should always seek to understand. I live in a world where the ideologies that we have about people of color are always gendered. They are always established within the context of racial and sexual capital. These are privileges that are always asserted as belonging to white males, and always at the cost of black and queer bodies. And I am always faced with the prying eyes of males when they are confronted with the reality, their own trauma, they revert back to boyhood in a way. Who'd sooner, and these boys often would sooner peel themselves away from my death than my breasts. The world has overrun with these men who I say are getting their master's degree in fuckboyology. And their doctorate in ain't shittedness. It's a term in black culture we use for people who don't quite use their head, or they're not accustomed to it, because the culture doesn't call for them to. But never, and so I'm always told my place is below a man, beneath a man, but never beside a man. And I'm doing this, being portrayed this way, kind of to deal with that baggage. I think back to being 16, and my brother, my sister, my mother, even my uncle who was doing the real work of raising me at the time, all tell me, stop hanging out with girls so much. Girls are trouble. Hang out with boys more. Make more friends with boys. But I always would ask the question, is it weird that these peers, couldn't keep their hands to themselves? A shiver runs down my spine when I remember, I'm in Spanish class and a young man who I think is my friend runs his hand up my thigh and I shiver. And this is really hard for me because this is my personal story. I'm a 10th grader at this time, and they're playing this game called Are You Nervous? And so this game is a game that's played to kind of test your limits, to test what your boundaries are. And I know that I will, if he changes his mind, that I will be blamed for everything, as if his sin is any cleaner than mine. And in case you were wondering, the boy who ran his hand up my thigh in a 10th grade Spanish class was white. I was one of 8 black students in my small high school, so needless to say, race matters in this story. But I chose to be silent about these things that happened to me because for so long I had been told I didn't know how to listen. I never chose the right time to speak, so I believed my silence would protect me. Is it hard to imagine the tranny could be raped by the handsome football player, the one they think is disciplined? But to me, he's not disciplined. He's not handsome. He's a nightmare I wish I could forget. Boy, was I wrong to assume that my silence would protect me, because it wouldn't protect me from the shame. It wouldn't protect me from violence. To everyone, once again, this boy is polite. He's handsome. But we're afraid to talk about sex because we're afraid of the skeletons we hold in our closets. But it was then, at 16 years old, that I learned the nice guy and the bad boy are after the same thing. It is the privilege of white men that they can choose who they fuck in the light and choose who they fuck in the dark. We have to remember that colonization kept sex secret long before I was ever born, long before any of us were born. If you ask me, being a victim of racist sexism means the ground beneath you can't hold you. Why do we allow young black and brown women, trans women, to be the victims of predators, emotional and sexual predators? America's pathology is its denial. Cisgender women are not the only women who are victims of misogyny. But I learned there at 16, the only woman's suffering we care about is that of the gender normative white woman. So from this one event as a 10th grader, among dozens of others events, I learned that I was non-white, non-gender normative, non-hetero, and therefore not worthy of life. For what is it when the handsome white boy takes advantage of your vulnerability and trust in order to get you to undress for him, and then discards you as if your body, your being, even your past friendship no longer matters? I was reminded that I am black and non-hetero. My pain didn't matter and I should just shut the fuck up about it. It was there at 16 that I learned my body only existed to please men. But now, at the age of 24, I don't hold my hands up and surrender at any man's masculinity, so fragile, so threatened by my wholeness and the truth of my own femininity. Now, at the age of 24, I see nothing in my adulthood that would prove to me anything different about why I was regarded with such hatred and contempt as a child. Black I already was, but my identity as transgender and nonconforming, my blatant resistance of violating gender boundaries and sexual status quo defined me as outside of masculinity and the circle of manhood I'd never wanted to be a part of to begin with. Now I sit at bus stops, and I can't even sit at a bus stop without somebody taking notice. And so I'm sitting there just thinking about, and this is actually a recent story. And I'm thinking, when is this bus gonna come? It's 20 minutes late. And I notice a group of men, the angry men, they call after me and they yell. And they say, "Look at this tranny bitch sticking her ass out to get our attention." Fear wells up in my soul. Could the cost of living authentically be my life? Why you hiding, you fake ass tranny? My intellect is gone. Not really, but all they could see me as is a receptacle for their disgust, pity, or fantasies. Oh no, I couldn't be that intelligent because I must be crazy to think I'm a woman. Those trifling Negroes lie and God isn't in them. So some white men are simply the wicked understudy to the higher power, to so wholeheartedly embrace the idea that me, somebody black, non-conforming, trans, could hold the moral high ground above them. What is it when you're sitting in a coffee shop and you're speaking out loud and you're talking about the legacy of Dr. King and making arguments of why black people are due reparations, and you hear this white man, elder white man, probably in his 60s, say, "Can you not see that racism is over? We have a black president. Come on. Why are you complaining? Get over it. And I'm thinking to myself, would you rather not deal with that than see that you would rather me be quiet? You would rather me be silent than deal with the horrors of your own whiteness. You see, I hear all the time, if you work hard enough, if you make lots of money, then you'll be successful. When I hear these stories, I'm definitely frightened. But the list goes on. When I think about this, I could go on all day, but I won't. I won't go on. I feel like this needs to end. And the reason why it hasn't ended is because I say it's over. I want it to end, and therefore we should have that power to declare these things over. And that's where the story ends. Thank you.
It's Susie Firestone.